How does a sage look like? Let's find out. Tao Te Ching chapter 15. The ancient excellent masters knew subtleties and wonders in depths that cannot be known. And as we cannot know them, I will try to describe their appearance. Cautious, like crossing a river in winter. Wary, as if surrounded by strangers. Dignified, like a guest. Yielding, like ice about to melt. Simple, like uncarved wood. Open, like a valley, and foolish, like being confused. Who can be confused, but in calmness, dignified and clear? Who can rest until the moment of action? He who holds on to the Tao seeks no access. And since he lacks access, he can retreat in no need to become anything else. So, hello my friends. Let's take a look at Tao Te Ching chapter 15 today. I'm very happy to do this, and if you want to support my channel and my work, then feel free to leave a subscription. And I also would like to get in contact with you about these topics, about these chapters. And so you can leave a comment if you like, and then we can talk. So now for Tao Te Ching chapter 15. The ancient excellent masters knew subtleties and wonders in depths that can't be known. So this is, it's referring to basically everything which has to do with the Tao. You cannot definitely know, okay? And the ancient masters, if they are seen as the ones closest to the Tao in human history, it is said that we cannot understand what they knew, okay? So, now he's suggesting something to solve this problem. And as we cannot know them, I will try to describe their appearance. And this is very interesting because, and it's wise. If you don't understand something, you have to look at it, okay? That's a basic scientific principle. And so as humans tend to learn nearly everything from looking at others, like children learn from looking at their parents, what they do, and then they imitate that and grow. So this is what Lao Tzu suggests here in order to solve the problem that we cannot understand the masters in their subtleties. Okay. So how are those sages? How do they look like? Cautious, like crossing a river in winter. Okay, so the masters are cautious. They aren't foolishly running around on ice. They are cautious because, I could assume that they do not want to break anything by accident. They do not want to rush things and do anything wrong. So, like crossing a river in winter, this points to a very important Taoistic principle, which is that as a Taoist, you know that every action has a consequence. And whatever you do, however you push a system, any system, in a certain direction, there will be consequences afterwards. So that's why the principle Wu Wei, don't act, is so important, because that is the essence of not doing anything stupid, okay, without having thought it through beforehand. And I think this is pointing in that direction. So you're cautious. You don't want to break anything. You don't want to fall into the river in winter because then you're dead. And so you're very cautious, and you mind every word. You think about every word you speak. Okay. Wary, as if surrounded by strangers. Okay. This is the same principle. Okay. So you are very conscious about where you are, about what others do. You keep in mind everything which could go wrong, and you are very present, very much in the moment. That's as well the Wu Wei principle. You are in the moment and you are aware. Okay, you are wary, as if surrounded by strangers. So in a Chinese culture, it always has been very important, especially in the presence of strangers, to behave in the right way, because you did not want to lose faith. Not faith. You did not want to lose face. Okay, so losing face is the worst, and still it is in Chinese society. So you always want to keep your face, which means being honored, being known for your righteousness. Okay, you want others to respect you. That is very important and has been in Chinese culture forever, as I know. So, and then we come to the next point, which is very similar. Dignified, like a guest. Okay, you are dignified. You carry the human dignity and present it to the outside world. So the sages want to be an example for human dignity. Okay, that's a very important point. That's why sages and monks always, even though they have very simple clothing, they always care about that the clothes are clean and they are fitting good and looking good. So because that is a sign of dignity. Okay, being upright as a human being. Yielding, like ice about to melt. Okay, yielding. So, and this is kind of similar as the first two, the cautious and the wary part. So the sage is always ready to take himself back, like melting ice. Okay, he is not like frozen ice. He is not stiff. He is not not like a rock standing solid and going against something, but he is yielding. That's the principle of Taiji, for example. So you go with the flow of nature. You never go against, and you're not stiff, because as Taoists know, and later in the Tao Te Ching, it is pointed out in a chapter, I'm not sure which exactly, that everything which is stiff breaks. Okay, but everything which is flexible will survive. Okay, little babies are very flexible, and they are young, youthful, healthy. And old people get more stiff and more stiff until they die, and then they are completely stiff. Okay, so the wise, the sage, is yielding like melting ice. Okay, simple, like uncarved wood. Okay, that's what I said earlier with the simple clothing of monks. So they are simple. They don't need big castles or extravagant clothing or fancy, I don't know, fancy watches or anything. Watches might, in Lao Tzu's times, might not have been that important. But anyway, so they are simple. The sage is simple. Okay, and this is like in chapter what was it? I think 12 or 13, when it was about follow the belly and not the eyes. That is the same principle. The belly is easy. The belly just want to eat, and then it's satisfied. The eyes are hard to please. Okay, the eyes always want more. So listen to the belly, be simple. Okay. So the sages are open like a valley. Okay, and this is important. A sage, an ancient master, knew how to be open, knew how to listen, knew how to watch, knew how to notice. Okay, and this is, of course, a quality of wisdom. If you think about wise people, you know, and you can tell me in the comments from wise people, you know, it's always interesting. Wise people, they know how to listen. That's why everybody likes to talk to them. You know, because they don't interrupt you. They are open. They listen first. And then they take the time to think. And then they say some very few chosen words. And they change the world. That is how the wise is. The wise, the sage, is open. And because he is open, he knows. Okay. So, last point. This one is interesting. Foolish, like being confused. Okay, and this is a very important thing to understand. The wise, the sages, they love jokes. They love to make fun of each other. They love to laugh in itself. They aren't serious people, okay? Because seriousness as a quality of itself is also a kind of stiffness. Like serious, also serious. That's not how the wise people are. You could think of the Dalai Lama, for example. He's laughing all the time. Because all in all, the world is quite funny. It's a funny place. I mean, there's so many funny animals running around. For example, you could just look at a rabbit. Look at a rabbit for 10 seconds and you are in good mood. Okay, so that's an example. And it is wise to be able to be foolish. And this good kind of foolishness, the foolishness of children, joking around, making fun, laughing, being happy. Okay, so that is also a quality of the ancient sages, of course. It is said that the old masters look like children. Okay, 80, 90 years old Chinese masters look like children. And I've seen some. And it's true in a way. They are young. The faces look young. They are smiling all the time. And that's a very, very important quality. And as we Westerners tend to think, I think, about the ancient sages, many times we tend to think about a serious old man sitting in a cave. But they are not so serious. Really not. They are generally very funny people, and Lao Tzu states it here as well. So foolish, like being confused. But now it comes, okay. Who can be confused but in calmness, dignified and clear? Okay, so this puts it into place. They aren't confused, of course. They are foolish. They're fooling around like they are confused, but of course they are not. When they are calm, they are dignified and clear. So they can be the one side of life, but they also, when it's necessary, when it is the right time, they can, of course, be dignified and clear. Okay, and they have this human dignity and show that to the world. Okay, so that's not a contradiction. That is, as always, yin and yang. And the sage, of course, serves both sides of the reality. Okay, so this is an example of that. Who can rest until the moment of action? Okay, and this is, of course, Wu Wei, right? Go with the flow. Be in the moment so that when the right moment comes for the action, you're ready to go. Okay, but of course, the wise, they don't act before it's the time to act. They act just the right moment. Okay, and why can they do that? Because they are cautious, wary, dignified, yielding, simple, open, and foolish. Okay, so those are all qualities they have. And out of this, especially openness, I would say, they know when it's the right moment to get into action. Okay. So, and now follows the part about what the sage do, what the sages do. Okay, so he who holds on to the Tao seeks no access. Okay. Yeah, well, this is of course a basic principle of Taoism. So if you want to live in a yin yang, in the right yin yang way, then you don't want to go too far into the yang, you don't want to go too far into the yin, because every excess will produce excess outcomes. And you don't want to have excess outcomes. You want to have calm, steady, continuing in a good way outcomes. Okay, so of course the wise, the one who holds on to the Tao, seeks no access in no direction. He tries to stay just in the middle of yin and yang, because that's where life is most pleasant, actually. So he who holds on to the Tao seeks no access, and since he lacks access, he can retreat in no need to become anything else. Okay, very important. So he is not seeking access. So, and seeking access is what most common people do, right? They are seeking for the faster car, the bigger house, the longer vacation on a more beautiful island, blah, blah, blah. Access, access, access. But this means if you chase access, that means that you never have enough. This is very important to understand. If you seek access, well, where does the access end, right? It's hard to know. I mean, we have people trying it out. Elon Musk, for example. There doesn't seem to be an end for money, for example. And so you can chase that, but the probability that it will make you happy is zero. It really is. So, of course, he who holds onto the Tao does not do that. And because he's not falling for that trap of chasing excess, he can retreat. He can stay who he is in no need to become anything else. He can just be who he is. He can be in the moment. He can be satisfied. He can be calm. He can be even foolish, because there's nothing he has to chase. Okay, it's so great. That's such a good principle, right? So he's not seeking for anything outside, so he just can stay how he is. And that is, of course, again, the principle of Wu Wei, of not acting in any way, not having to accomplish anything. So I translated this last sentence in two ways. So you also could translate it as, and since he lacks access, he can conceal without having to accomplish anything new. Okay, that's also a possible way. So he can conceal, he can be for himself without having to accomplish anything new. It's basically the same message, right? It's just a few different words. Yeah, so that's the wisdom, right? So if you gather all of those qualities inside of you, being cautious, being wary, being dignified, yielding, simple, open, and foolish, of course, and most important, not seeking excess, you will be able to be satisfied and calm inside of yourself. Okay, and you won't have to change anything. That is what Lao Tzu is telling us in this great chapter number 15. So as always, I hope you like it. Please leave a comment, leave a like if you like, leave a subscription. I would really appreciate seeing you again on my channel. I will make more videos about the Tao Te Ching, definitely. There are a lot of chapters to come, and I would be glad if you join me on this journey. Here around me, you find other videos you can watch. Thank you so much for your attention, and see you soon. Bye.